All right. So, what we actually want to cover in this section is to lay a background on what data analytics is all about to help guide us through. So probably in tomorrow's section, we'll start with Excel properly. So like I said, there might be need for us to skip the fundamental aspect of Microsoft Excel and just focus on the advanced aspects, which is more related to data analysis. So what we'll do today, like I said, just to lay a foundation to know what data analytics is all about, since we are trying to get it right. So we will start from that angle. I think this is not the slide I actually want to work with. Let me switch to the slide. The one. Miss Mercy, welcome. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining late.
Forgive me.
Okay.
I'm so sorry, sir.
This we may need to turn off our video to avoid the distraction.
Okay, sir. Sorry, I'm trying to do that.
Okay, so there is a place where you can turn off. You see a video update. Okay, I've seen that. Okay, so we are starting. I want to officially welcome us to this particular section. And like I was saying before you joined, said this section will be dedicated for giving us a solid background on what data analytics is all about. For probably tomorrow, we'll delve into advanced Excel for data analytics. All right, so I want to start by congratulating us for making it to this mentorship section, because this is not going to be like the regular training. So our target here is beyond the regular training. So I assume that I'm actually preparing us to go and start looking for online remote jobs. So based on that, we will start with, let's say, this session and tomorrow's section be based on data analytics introduction, and then tomorrow we'll look at one of the two, which is advanced Excel. Then by next week, either Saturday or Sunday, we teach us how to create portfolio on GitHub, so that as we proceed with the class, whatever we are doing, once I have approved it, you start uploading in your GitHub repository, because that is one of the recognized platform where you can actually build a very strong portfolio for any tech field, not just data analytics. So this training, we shall be focusing on the following. We look at what is data analytics. We look at types of data analytics and application techniques. We also look at data analytics software tools, difference between data analytics and data science, data analytics job description, so that you can prepare efficiently Because sometimes when you don't know what is expected of you in a particular tech field, it becomes confusing. And when you want to attend some of these online remote jobs, you might fail an interview just because you don't even know your job description. So it is important we know our job description as data analysts. Then we also look at an average data analyst salary. So let's see how in the course of the training, if you have any question, there is a react button on the Zoom that will indicate that you are raising up your hand. So once I see that notification, we pause and please, particularly the beginning parts, we will work with slow and steady speed. I will not want us to rush for any reason. And it will be more of I teach and you work most time in the class. And then after the class, I'll be giving us enough assignments to work with. And the outcome of those assignments, once they are approved, you will screenshot them and then you will start uploading them in any of those platforms we shall be using to build our portfolio. So we are going to start with building portfolio on GitHub. Then later we can move to LinkedIn. And then we have Upwork as well. So these are some of the hot zone where you can actually access remote job alerts. Now, I just want us to get it right. Before you start searching for a remote job, it is important you get yourself grounded. Very important. The remote jobs, they are not actually for beginners, though we have some that can accommodate beginners, but most of them, they are not actually meant for beginners. So we need to get that right so that you know that this time around you have to put enough effort to make sure that you know it. That is why I said it's going to be more of practical. Even if it is a single topic that I achieve per meeting, I'll be more happier than taking 10 topics and at the end of the day, you are not able to grab anyone to implement it to professional level. So please, like I've highlighted in the group, more than just finance commitments, financial commitments is needed for you to be experts in IT. A lot of sacrifices are involved. The one of the main sacrifice you should be ready to make is your time to practice, giving the program attention. There are times you wake up at night, so just find a way of drafting a timetable, a comprehensive practice timetable that will really allow you to understand what you are doing. Nobody have time, but out of that no time, you should be able to make out time if you really value the field you are going into. So let me quickly start with what is data analysis. So like I said, if you have any question, you can ask. At some point, I'll be pausing for us to ask questions. So we're going to make it more interactive because, like I said, this is training and mentorship. Training and mentorship. So I'll be training us and also guiding us on how to position as professional for you to be able to absorb the professional jobs out there. So let's start with what is data analytics. So data analytics is the process of examining and interpreting data to extract meaningful insights, patterns, and trends. So it is very important we understand what we mean by insights, patterns, and trends as far this field of data analytics is concerned. Because until you actually understand the meaning of those three words, you will just be wumbling around without knowing the essence of this program. If you ask most data analysts out there now, what is insight? They will not be, they don't actually know what it is very well. If you also ask them what is pattern, so I want to ask us right now, you can simply unmute yourself and respond. Anybody who can respond faster. What do you understand by the term insights before now? Because I don't want to assume. I want to make sure that I clarify every aspect. What do we mean by insights in data analytics field? Can anybody help us to explain or to expatiate?
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
I think literally, I think insight means looking beyond what you are just seeing ordinarily, as in having a deep understanding of what, as in higher than what you are looking at.
Okay. So, any
Like
other?
looking beyond what you are just looking at.
Okay.
Trying to, as in, read more meaning into what you are just seeing. I'm just describing it literally
No, no, no,
as
no.
in
Just
having
continue.
an insight.
Just continue.
Just going beyond what you are seeing, what you are looking at. Maybe as like an example, you just see one plus one equal to two. You can
Okay.
still look beyond, not just looking at one plus one equal to two. Maybe ordinarily on your head, you will now be imagining why one plus one is equal to two. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, you you
To
you you
describe
make a
it.
valid point there. So can I also hear from Mrs. Mercy? What do you understand by the term insight? Because these are the fundamental things that we need to know.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, when you talk of insight in data analysis, I think we're talking about understanding the pattern, then the pattern of the data, the relationship, and the trend within the data.
Okay. Fortunately, you are just to hear. So let me analyze the options both of you have presented. Actually, if you look at, let me start with uh, Madam Franca. Yes, you made a valid point. Miss Mercy, you were just missing them up. You can see that I have on the screen insight, I have pattern, and I have trend. And I was asking you what is insight. So you are defining insight, also mentioning pattern, mentioning trend. So that is the mix up. So which means that you don't really understand the distinct differences between them. That is the reason why I have to pause and make sure that we get this right. Because when you are given data as a data analyst, there are three things you hunt for. There are three things you look for. And peradventure, you are not able to detect these three things, then it is assumed that the whole of your effort is wasted. It is also assumed that you have not done anything. And that is why you will say, please this young man that's supposed to be here is calling. Let me quickly. Okay, so like I was saying, when you are given a data set as a data analyst, The reason why that data set is given to you is because you have technical skills. You are a trained person. You are an expert that knows how to deploy your techniques using any of these available tools like Advanced Excel, Python, Power BI, SQL, and the rest of them to draw actionable insights. That is an insight that an organization can depend on to make vital or smarter decisions that will probably advance them. So let's look at what we mean by insights properly in the right context. So in data analytics, the term insight is refers to deep understanding. So you can see how it aligns with what Ms. Franca was saying. It requires what? It refers to deep understanding or discovery derived from the data you are given. Deep understanding, discovery derived from the data you are given. That is referred to as what? Insights. Insight. And it is the insights the stakeholder actually rely on, or let me put it this way, it is the insights that you must have derived from the data which you must have highlighted in your executive results or reports, or in your conclusion. That is what the stakeholder depends on to make smart decisions. So that is for insight. So let's talk about pattern. Or if we want to look at some of the characteristics of insight so that we can understand it better, let's quickly discuss some of the characteristics. So insights are often unexpected, yet meaningful, and provide a new perspective on a problem or opportunity. So most time, that is the reason why they couldn't find these insights. They don't have the technical skills for them to actually draw these insights from the data. Now, you need to understand that there are techniques that are applied to get insight. There are techniques that are also applied to detect the pattern. And there are techniques that are also applied to detect the correlation or the outliers. So let's quickly look at an example. Probably this will give us the right picture of what insight is, because most of these terminologies, until you tie them to a practical scenario, they are confusing. Now, let's look at this simple example. Analyzing customer purchase behavior reveal that a specific product is frequently bought by another with another product, suggesting a potential bonding opportunity. Now, let me break it down. Let's say you have a supermarket where you are selling different products. So, for instance, we have telephone, and this telephone device can as well have different brands. We can have Mr. Please turn off your video to avoid distraction. So, like I was saying, we can have two or more brands of a product, let's say phone. And then remember that you have an inventory system. An inventory system is like a database or a data system that is helping you to track or to record your sales detail. And when you look at that sales inventory after some time, you discover that a particular product was purchased more than the other. So you have to ponder and begin to factor what could be the reason why this particular product was purchased more than the other products. So that is where the critical thinking comes from. That is why we use the word deep understanding. You are trying to factor out what actually led to it. So in that process, you will discover different variables that will have contributed to that product outperforming others. So that is a simple example we can use to explain an insight. Now let's look at what is trend, because these are like the backbone of this field. What is trend? Just like we have it today, technology is trending. Technology is not the only industry we have in the world. We have other industry, but it happened that technology is trending, and there is a factor, or there are factors that actually makes it to be more trending than other words, sectors. So how do we define trend in a simple analysis form? A trend is a direction or pattern in data that persists over time. Look at the keyword there, direction or pattern in your data that persists over time, which means that reoccurrence that persists over time. Now, let's focus on that sales inventory data set I was using before. Let's say after collecting the data for some time, you look at the data, you now find out that, or you now discover that some customer purchase a particular product than the other. That means that product is trending out of other products. It means that that product has some unique features that actually makes people to want to get towards it. So when you are given data sets, what the stakeholder wants to see that will influence their decision, that will help them to make right and smarter decisions, is when you as a data analyst, you are able to process out the trend. When you are able to tell them that, okay, out of the variables in the data set, this is what I observe, that this one is doing better than this other one. So once you give that information to the stakeholder, that itself will guide them in terms of investing their capital across the product. No reasonable business person, after getting such information, will still go ahead to invest on that product that is underperforming. Instead, you would like to buy more of the product that the customer purchased most. So how did he or she knows that he is supposed to invest or to buy more of this product than the other one? Because in your executive report, you have pointed it out as your trend. I hope I'm making sense. Please let me get a response.
Yes, you are.
Okay. All right. Now, let me also align it with a practical example, just like I did in the case of insights. An example I want to use here is just like your sales data shows a steady increase in demand for a particular product. Your sales data shows a steady increase in demand. So you can see that people are buying more of that product. That is trend. That is trend. So let's quickly look at pattern. Let's quickly look at pattern. A pattern is a repeated or predictable behavior in a data. A repeated or predictable behavior in a data. That is pattern. Now, that is why in this field, most time when we want to present our insights, we use graphical or we use graph to visualize them so that you can easily detect the pattern. The pattern. You know, in every business, it is important that you study the pattern of the behavior of each of the products. And the pattern will be detected by looking at how the customers are buying that product repeatedly. For example, today, you check your sales inventory, customer purchase computer 5 times. Tomorrow again, you check your inventory data, that same computer again, leading. Next day, you check again. So you will see that the pattern is that one that is repeating. So you can see that all these are interconnected. So these are the things we look for in a data set as data analysts. That is why I am taking my time to explain them. So let's explain further. It involves using various techniques, tools, and methods to analyze data from different sources, such as database, spreadsheets, or external data sources. So how will you be able to draw the insights? How will you be able to detect the pattern? And how will you be able to also detect the trend? It involves various techniques. It involves various tools. And that is the reason why you are learning advanced Excel, you are learning Python, you are learning Power BI, you are learning SQL, you are learning R, you are learning Tableau, you are learning so many tools. So all these tools, the factors that should determine which one you should learn, the one that you can easily apply to detect the insight, the pattern, and the trend. So there are some data analysts that when they are given data, they feel that using Python, they can easily detect these 3 pillars of data analytics. So they will use Python. Another person will look at the data and say, okay, this data, I can easily, draw my insights or find my patterns and trend using Power BI. So all these tools you are learning, you're only trying to be versatile. At the end of the day, when you are employed, there are some companies that will allow you to choose the best tool, while there are some that will compel you to use one that probably they must have confirmed over time. And that is the reason why you have to give attention to all of them, because at this point you are learning, you don't actually know which one will be recommended where you are going to work. So I believe that is clear. So I want to be sure that at this point, with what I've explained so far, we now understand what data analytics is all about. So in summary, before I leave this slide, in summary, we can say the role of a data analyst is to be able to what? To draw insights, actionable insights that will influence smart decision making by identifying pattern in a data set and also the trends. So that is one thing you must get whenever you are given data set. Now, let's quickly talk about what should be the goal of data analytics. At the end of the day, what are you expected to present as your executive report? because this is what you'll be paid for. You cannot go through your data set. At the end of the day, you have nothing to present. So one of the goals of this is to gain insight and understanding of data. It's very important. So you must not jump this step of understanding your data, because if you don't understand your data, you will probably not be able to come up with what are a good or solid insight that a company can use to make informed decisions. So another goal is to identify pattern and trend. So never approach any data set analysis without outlining your goals. Another goal is to make informed decisions. Another goal is to improve business operations and enhance customer experience. So let me just dwell on this for a while. Why is this field necessary? Why an organization is recommended to have at least one data analyst? If you look at some of the businesses out there, the reason why they keep failing is because they don't have a data analyst. Some does not even have data, because data will definitely make you to be informed, just like the world we are today. There are some people out there that are not informed that the technology has taken over, and they are still busy with the manual system, and then after some time, you see them out of the market. So that is how it is. So this pattern and the trend that we identify in our data guide a business person, guide an organization to be informed, to know which decision to make per time. Just imagine you don't have what we call feedback system, a system that allow you to hear from your customer the performance of your business. At the end of the day, you will be thinking that you are satisfying them. Meanwhile, you are not. And there are some businesses that will barricade this process just because they are afraid of probably the customer criticizing them. And which is good in a business. If you are not criticized, there is no way you will wake up. There's no way you will change your strategies. If a customer, for example, did not speak out by telling you that this product is ineffective, you will probably be producing with the same model. But once you hear from one or two persons complaining about the product, it's not the right time for you to shun them. It is the best time for you to look inward and look at what you can actually do differently for the customer to be satisfied. And then from that, you increase their experience. That is what number 5 is saying. But when you don't analyze your data periodically, you will notice that you will use the same method all through the year. And at the end of the day, you will be out of business because you can't compete with your competitors. And that is why you see in most businesses, they do what we call feasibility study. They go around to find out other business of similar product weakness, what they are not doing. And as they want to unleash their own, they will make sure that they campaign against those weaknesses as the reason why people should purchase their products. So when you analyze data, when a company takes time to analyze data, so that is one of the advantage. So all these are the goals of data analytics. So businesses are looking for us because most of them, when they discover that they have failed over time, they now begin to look for solution. And that is where you come in. So you are like a counselor. That is why you must learn it very well. Just imagine a company is depending on you to invest billions of naira, and you are casual about it. You are not meeting up these outline goals. You are now recommending options based on your assumption instead of going through exploring the data and tell them exactly what the data is saying. So these are the goals. And I hope it's clear. Before I leave this slide, let me get a response. If you have any question, please ask before I go to the next slide.
It's clear.
Okay, only one person have responded that is clear. Please, can I get one more response? Right, proceed.
It's clear.
All right. So let's look at types of data analytics. Like I said, this session is dedicated for us to have solid background of what this field is all about, so that we can prepare our minds towards what we actually want to achieve from any data sets we are given to analyze. Now, let's discuss various types of data analytics. We have descriptive analytics, and I have summarized the kind of question each of them poses. So, under descriptive analysis, you will end up asking yourself what happened at the end of your analysis. Please, there are techniques that are involved in carrying out these various analysis, whether it is descriptive or diagnostic. There are methods, there are techniques that are involved. So descriptive analysis, we always ask the question, what happened? So a practical example is just like you are analyzing profits against 3 different products. After your analysis, you now discover that product A generated 3 billion. Product C generated maybe 4 billion. And then product C, let's say 5 billion. You are going to ask yourself, what happened that one of the products generated more profits over the other? So you are going to ask yourself that question. That is where what happened comes in. And most time, we use statistical methods to perform the descriptive analysis. So all those sum if s, count if s, they are techniques or method you are actually deploying to be able to come up with a result where the performance of one product will lead to asking this question you are saying, what happened that this product is doing well or did well than the other products? So descriptive analysis will always lead to that question, what happened? Then we have diagnostic analysis. This will prompt why it happened question. So at this point here, you are looking at what actually happened, as in you are looking for reasons why you have the first question, what happened? You know, the first question is just like demanding for explanation, the detail or detailing of what's happened. Then you trying to find out certain reasons why it happened. You are diagnosing the data. It's just like, let me relate it to medical sector. When you get to the hospital and you complain that probably you are having headache and all of that, the doctor is not going to recommend drugs immediately. He's going to what? run a test to know what happened. After running that test, now this is where you need to understand that techniques are involved to find out what happened. They are not going to use their mouth to run the test. The doctor will actually deploy some equipment, put them on the person's body, and then, start operating those machines. At the end of the day, that will be able to tell him or her what happened, what actually went wrong. Now, it is that once the doctor has been able to detect what happened that led to the person's sickness, the next thing he or she is going to do is to start diagnosing the person. That is still under the testing. Sometimes when you get to, they'll ask you, what happened? I'm feeling headache. Now, they will not start running tests. So that test that they are running falls under diagnostic. They are trying to locate the reason why you are having or why that person is having that symptom. So we also have it in data analysis. So we operate almost the same pattern with the way doctors operate. So the data that is given to us is just like the patient. That's the patient, the data that is given to us. So the stakeholder, that data does not make sense. That data is not healthy. They don't know the potential that data that they have is to them. So let's assume that the data is sick and they give it to you. So the first thing you are going to do is to study the data so that you know what happened, that one variable is outperforming the other variable. Then you begin to diagnose. All this, you are deploying different functions within the tool you are using. It could be advanced Excel, it could be Power BI, it could be Python, it could be SQL. That's why we have functions under each of them that you will deploy to perform all these types of analysis. And that is why you must be versatile in using those softwares, particularly their functions, because you will be limited one way or the other when you are not grounded on using those functions to be able to to identify your insight, the pattern, and the trend from the given data set. So we have predictive analysis. So this one poses the question, what might happen? What might happen? That is why I told us that our job description in an organization, that is why we are the best people to work in the admin department. If you employ a data analyst as a manager, the person will do better than just employing any other person as a manager. Because we have this proactive mindset, and we have this mindset of knowing what is happening per time. We are busy, we identify the pattern of the business flow. So because we study that, at any given point in time, we can tell an organization to change their system, to change their strategies. If you check all this bank, all this MTN, Glo, you see the way once they introduce a particular method and they see that other people in the market have copied it, they will go inside again and come up with another method. And how would they know that it is due for them to change what particular method? It is from what the data analyst is presenting. So predictive is talking about what might happen. That is future analysis. You are predicting the future. And that is where the world is going. Right now, nobody wants to employ a data analyst that after his or her analysis cannot in any way predict the future, because they believe that they have seen today and they have seen yesterday. Now they need someone that can take yesterday and today events and be able to tell them what tomorrow will be, and also tell them certain steps they need to take certain things they need to put in place for them to come up with that tomorrow prediction. So that is predictive analysis. Then we have prescriptive analysis. What to do? What to do? So this is what comes under recommendation. Remember, when you conclude your analysis, you must present your observation. Then present your recommendation if necessary. Most time, we don't usually have recommendation, but always we have observation. Bear it in mind. There is no data you will analyze that you cannot come up with observation. But there are data you will analyze that there might not be what? Recommendation. Now, let me give all the clue. At what point I should know whether I am to back my conclusion with recommendation. If, for example, you analyze product A, product B, product C, and you look at the correlation, the outlier, the differences between when you compare the least to the highest and the highest to the next one, what is the difference? What is the how do I put it? What is the measure of dispersion? That is correlation. How does the product B disperse? How does it different from product C? Is the margin minimal or the margin maximum? So once, for example, if I'm working with this same three products, let's say product A generated 1,000, product B generated 2,000, product C generated 2,005. Now, if you look at the difference between product B and product C, it's just 500 naira. Then if you look at the difference between product C and product 1, it's 1,005. So now, if you look at the correlation, you will notice that product C and product B, they are having almost the same trend. So you will not actually say that they are not competing, or you will not actually say that product B is doing bad. So at that point now, there might not be a recommendation. Instead, you will just present your observation, pointing it to them that this is the highest, followed by this, and then the least is this, and the difference between the least and the highest is this. So for every analysis you perform, what the stakeholder wants to see that will really help them in making their decision. They want to see the highest. They want to see the lowest. Then they want to see the difference between the highest and the lowest. That is the correlation and the outlier we're talking about. So you shouldn't perform any form of analysis at the end of the day. You are not able to tell them the highest performing variable, or you are not able to tell them the least. These two informations are very important, because if I'm running a business and I don't know which product is selling most, and I don't know the product that is selling less, then I may not really make informed decision. This thing is practical. So I will end up investing, randomly. I will not be able to invest precisely on the product.
Whether he will,
Sorry about that.
yeah.
Finish. Okay. Hope you are with me. Please let me get a response. Hope you are with me.
Yeah, we're with you.
All right.
We're here.
All right.
We're here.
Okay. Now, so that is what it means for you to understand the different types of analysis. So you should be able to identify. So they're what we call business analytics. I believe most of you must have heard about people calling themselves they are business analysts instead of addressing themselves as data analysts. And sometimes you begin to wonder which one is business analytics, which one is general analytics. Now, what business analytics focus on is simply a specialist, a data analyst that specialize on analyzing data that are derived from business events. That's the strength of some persons. Like those people that work in the bank, they will be more productive, they will be more effective on business or on analyzing business data because they are familiar with that terrain. Then if, for example, now you are a medical personnel, because you are in that field, you may tend to understand medical data than other people. So that is one challenge that is attributed to this field. And that is why if you are going to say you want to be a business analyst, then it means that you understand how businesses works. And you cannot understand how businesses works sometime until you are involved. Let me give you a practical example. If you have never been in the position of operating as a manager, I can tell you there are some decisions you never know that a business or a manager should take or business should take. You know, sometimes when you are working in a particular arm of an organization and you see them coming up with certain decisions, you will be feeling haunted, particularly when it affects you. But one thing you don't know is that these guys that are working in the admin, they are more of data analysts. They have data analyst mindset. They study the flow of the business day to day. And at the end of the day, they change their pattern of decision based on how the data variables are changing. So at some point, they come up with different decisions, trying to try another model that can work better than the current model. And then it will not lead to sacking some persons based on what probably the data analyst must have suggested that some changes need to be made here, some need to be made there. And then before you say, the person will start feeling as if he's being witch hunted. So you need to have the CEO mindset. That's the best way you can be a grounded data analyst. You must know how CEO thinks. You must know how manager thinks. They are solution provider. They are problem solvers. That is why one of the attributes of a data analyst is critical thinking. You saw that. That's why I wanted us to understand those key terms. Insight, deep understanding. You think beyond the norm. You are given data, it stresses your memories at times. But why are you learning Excel? You know, you are supposed to be looking at the data from different perspectives, trying to identify trend and pattern. But because you know some tools, like those sum if, you can easily use it to get what you want. Okay, so let's move away from this slide. Let's go to the next slide. Let's talk about some of these techniques that I mentioned that are involved for you to achieve. Remember in the first slide, I said data analytics involve drawing insights, identifying patterns and trends which aid decision making for an organization. And I further explained that it involves applying different techniques, different tools to achieve this. So now we want to discuss the techniques. We have data mining as one of the techniques. We have statistical analysis. We have machine learning. We have data visualization. And then we have, Then we have test analysis. Now, the test analysis is more or less of your documentation. You try to summarize everything that you have observed, the recommendations that are necessary, and all of that. So let's bear it in mind that outside these types of data analysis, we also have these categorical techniques that you have to deploy. For example, in Excel, we have
data mining functions so that you know at which point I am actually mining my data. Let me break it down. When you see people say, okay, they are mining for crude oil, they will be tilling the ground. They are looking for something on the soil. They're looking for the crude oil. And you will see them drilling the ground, drilling up, using different machines to be going deep or deeper inside the soil to get something. That is how we work as well. So when you say data mining, what it means is that you are using some functions to exploit the data. What are you exploring? You are exploring insights that are used for smart decision making. You are not going to use your hand. That is where you now say, okay, sum if basic salary where department is equals to this. That is statistical function you are deploying to mine the data for insight. So machine learning is talking about, instead of depending on human to perform the analysis, which is mostly known as predictive analysis. Sometimes we human beings, if we are allowed to predict, we will add emotion. That is the reason why you see the world today does not want to believe a manual analyst. Those days we call them, I think they are still calling them auditors. Those are they are manual analysts. It is that auditing that has translated to what data analytics in our days now. Now they can just come and collect. You notice that when they visit your branch, they will collect all the accounting books. Just like the way we collect data, despite that we are using computer devices and tools or technologies, we will still get data. So what they will do is that they will collect your accounting book, check all your record. They have different formula that they will use and be doing manual calculation for them to arrive at conclusion. But you and I today, we are enjoying, we don't need to do all those things. We are deploying this AI software, all this Excel, Power BI, to quickly do all that for us. So machine learning is just like, instead of human being studying the data and then performing analysis for predictive or for prediction, you are now training the machine to understand your data so that it can use that same data to perform prediction or predictive analysis. That is where we have the machine learning, which is the data science you are hearing today. So even in data analysis, you are actually predicting, but your predictions might not be considered to be more precise because there might be some mistakes. But the machine will study the data and come up with more precise predictions. The data visualization as one of the techniques that we can never do without. Now, sometimes when you hear the word visualization, what comes to your mind is graph, is beyond graph. Visualization actually means model, structures that can be used to present your insights. So for example, now you can see how I am visualizing what I'm explaining with this word shapes. So you looking at this picture that is attached to this write-up, I am trying to visualize, I'm trying to give you a picture of what I am talking about. So at any given point in time, when you have done your tabular analysis, it is important you attach visualization, a graphical visualization. So the model can be tabular model for visualizing or presenting your finding. It can also be a graphical model. That is where plotting of graphs comes in. So visualization does not only mean graph. It means in this field, a model for presenting your insights, those findings that we aid or facilitate smart decision making. They are called visualization because you must find a structure to present it to the stakeholder. because your workings are technical. Then when you are presenting it to the stakeholder, you must find a way of presenting it not technical, because they find out that the data is too cumbersome to them. That's why they gave it to you to simplify it. And when you are presenting it to them, it shouldn't be cumbersome. It shouldn't be what? Difficult for them to understand. It should be simplified in a manner that a layman can look at your report and understand what you are saying. So that is why presenting our workings, all those graph, all those things, does not really matter to them. What you will compile, what you will compose as your final conclusion is what matters to them in words. And that is why when you are building your portfolio, you see when you try downloading data from Cargo, you see the way they documented every information about the data. They will start by defining what data is. They will start by telling you the attribute, the headers in the data set. They will describe each of the column. And then after that, they will highlight some possible questions that could be asked that will lead to deriving this insight that can influence smart decision making. So that is what you'll be doing across. If it is Facebook, you are building your portfolio. If it is a GitHub, so you'll just be taking projects. Just take a data set and put yourself in the shoe of the company, and then also put yourself as an analyst that is given the data, and then define what the insights you derive from the data. That is what they want to see. And once they see it in your portfolio, they will say, well, wow, for you to reason this way, that means you are a problem solver. So it's not just uploading the picture. If you are uploading the picture of whatever you do, you have to describe it. What problem is that image addressing? So you picture the problem, and then you back that problem up with the picture. So that is visualization. So there shouldn't be any form of analysis you perform that you don't have a plan of visualizing it, because that is what we help the stakeholder to really interpret what you are saying. So I believe that is clear to us. Let me also get a response from this slide explanation before I move to the next slide.
It's very clear.
Okay. Can I also get one more response, please?
Yes, very clear, sir.
Okay, all right. So now let's look at data analytics tools. So now we have been talking about data analytics is about drawing insights, identifying patterns and correlations or outliers from given data set that helps in making smart decisions. We've also talked about, and I said it involves various techniques. So it also involves different tools. Now we talk about the techniques, we are talking about the tools now. So because you are not going to use your brain to perform any of this. That is just the truth. That is why we are in the era of AI. All the tools available out there for analyzing data to identify the insight, the pattern, they are AI-based tools. They are artificial intelligence tools. Is it advanced Excel? You don't actually punch calculator to get any summation of value. So which means that you are actually depending on what? The AI tools. So we have different tools. We have advanced Excel, we have Tableau, we have Power BI, we have Python libraries. So you can see that you are not actually using Python direct to analyze data. So you need to get it right. That is why your perception of learning Python is different from learning Python for application development. There are people that are learning Python for developing app. There are people that are learning Python for maybe for other purposes, maybe for building games and all that, which fall under what? App development. But you as a data analyst, you are not actually using Python direct. You are leveraging on libraries created and populated with certain functions you need to be able to what? To draw insights, identify patterns and outlier from a given data. And that is one of the reasons why Python is leading. That is why it's leading, because it has vast libraries for almost every aspect of tech. If you go to web development now, Python have customized the Django for implementing backend. Okay, so I was talking about one of the reasons why Python is widely used and how it pertains to us as data analysts. So we have different libraries like pandas, we have NumPy, we have matplotlib. So Python library is simply the collection of functions. And these functions, we can refer to them as packages that are packaged for you and I as data analysts to enable us access functions that we can use to be able to draw insights, pattern, and outliers from our data sets. That is the reason why once you activate the framework like Notebook, you take time to import this library. In other words, you want to make them present. You want them to be available within the platform you are using, so that when you start contacting functions that are stored in them, you can actually reach out to those functions. So Python is one of the best data analytics tool for machine learning. So when we say machine learning, in other words, we are saying that a programming language that can allow us to train to train the machine to understand the data and do the prediction for us instead of a human being predicting. Now we have R programming language. So it's another programming language which is also applied in machine learning. So the two major machine learning programming languages are Python and R. You can use them for machine learning. You can also use them for data analysis. Now, we have a standard query language or structured query language, which is known as SQL. So the SQL is a database language. It's a database language that help us to write query statements. Query statements. So this query statements is just like combination of keywords that help us to also derive insights and end up identifying patterns and outliers from our data. So all these tools, they are applicable in data analysis, or most of them are not applicable in machine learning. You can't use Excel for machine learning. You cannot use Tableau for machine learning. You cannot also use Power BI for machine learning. So the only two languages that are recommended for machine learning and they are core programming languages are Python and R. But unfortunately, while Python, R has been in existence for a very long time before Python came on board. But you know what is happening? What is happening? Python is trying to actually taking over almost all the old programming languages. So it came out and is now surpassing the R. So R is majorly for statistical analysis. So where your analysis is focused or centered on statistics, then R is the best. But that does not mean that Python cannot do all that. Okay, so we have many of them, data science platform, e.g. data, robots, Atari. All these are different data analytics tools that you might want to learn. But remember, this training we shall be covering advanced Excel, Power BI, Python, and then SQL. Okay, so now let's quickly look at the next slide. We are rounding up. Look at the next slide where I want to discuss application of data analytics. Because at times people venture into this tech skill without knowing their left from their right. So because everybody is, running towards a particular aspect of tech, everybody feels that they fit in, and it is wrong. It is wrong. That is why you see some persons, they waste their money learning a particular aspect of tech, and at the end of the day, they find it difficult to practice. It's like that across other sectors. So it is important we know why we are learning the possible domain we can be absorbed, or the possible sector that we actually need our services. That is the reason we have to come up with this application of data analysis. Top big data application here. So these are not the only one. I just picked the top area where the service of a data analyst is highly needed. Now we have education, we have government, we have healthcare. In fact, if you go to like Canada and all those UK now, from what I get from some of my students that are there, in fact, most like the healthcare sector, they cannot work without a data analyst. We have weather forecasters, all these companies that, even in Nigeria here, the arm of government that is responsible for forecasting weather condition, they all work with data. They collect sample here and there, and then they will tell you that, okay, based on this. So you can see that literally almost every aspect, banking, in fact, bank is one of the areas that is consuming this particular field. All the bank managers, down to their director, whatever it is, they work with data. It's just that they have been doing most of these things we are learning in a computerized version. They have been doing them manually, and it has been costing them a lot of time and energy for them to do some of these things that we are easily doing these days. So this field has been in existence for a very long time, only that there were no AI tools that could make their work flexible and faster like these days. And that's why when you see people that have been in the banking system coming to learn this, they tend to learn it faster than every other person, because most of these things that the computer is doing, they are things that they have been spending time to do manually. So before you speak one or two things, they already know where you are going, because they have been dealing with data, and they have been dealing with reporting to their bosses, which one way or the other will have also involved analyzing data. Agriculture, data analytics is involved there. Fast food. Just imagine all these eatery, all these supermarkets, all these fertilizer, whatever it is. They analyze data almost on a daily basis, but you may not know. They have someone that is analyzing their data, that is giving them periodic reports on the customer behavior across all their products. So when they want to cook the next meal, they will have analyzed yesterday data to know how many people actually purchase it, so that they will not go and invest much in preparing a particular meal, and at the end of the day, people are not buying it. And they will not want to take some stock, because most of those products that they are selling, most of those meals, there are other specialized organizations that are supplying them on credit after selling the payback. There are individuals that have individual caterers that are good in preparing one meal or the other. So, but you may not know that that person might be the one preparing it at home and supplying them, like all those meat pie, whatever. So they must have done their analysis to know the rate of purchasing each of those products. Is it airline? They analyze data a lot. People that are traveling, the e-commerce in business. So all this area, this was I captured here, they are the big areas where the service of a data analyst is highly needed. So the job space is there for us. So let's quickly look at, rounding up, let's look at the application data, the application of data analysis. I think we have, to an extent, we have touched this, but let me explain it. So I just want to look at it from another perspective, where this field is directly applied. Business intelligence, marketing and sales. Let me tell us that this field is it's very related to digital marketing. That is why most time in digital marketing, we also teach them some of these things, because when, like, if a company asks you to manage all this social media, if you post anything on Facebook, you will notice that Facebook will analyze it for you using their artificial intelligence feature. How come you make a post, the next day you will know how many people that likes it, you will know how many people that commented on it, you will know how many people that view it. Have you asked yourself what is prompting you those information? That is data analysis application in social media. Sports, in fact, they analyze data so much. Data analysis is applied there. All this predicting of match, Chelsea is going to play against this, and most of these guys that are playing Bet Naija, most of them, they are the highest data analysts too. They can analyze and tell you that Mayo will lose the next 5 matches, and before you look at it, that is how it will happen. Now you ask yourself, how were they able to predict? That is predictive analysis. They must have looked at the performance of that club against that particular club, or the club that are lined up for them to face. They look at the winnings and the losses. Then they will not tell you that there's possibility, and look at the current player. They will tell you that, okay, based on this factor, this is the club that will win. That is data analysis application in sports. So supply chain and logistic is also what apply there. So I hope you are following. So if I didn't get any reaction, I know that it means you are following, because I want us to round up in the next few minutes. Now, benefit of data analysis. So this should be some of the reasons why you are learning this, because you should have identified some benefits before you go into any aspect of tech. So it improves decision making. It's part of what we have said before. It enhances business efficiency. It increases revenue. Some of us will end up being contractors or consultants. It's not every time a company should employ you. There are times you approach companies, you tell them reason why they should consult you for this, why you should analyze their data. So these are some of the reasons you can actually outline that will make them to buy the idea. Better customer understanding. A company that does not analyze data, I can tell you categorically, they don't know their customers. They don't know. It will help you competitive advantage. When you analyze data, it will help you to compete with your rivals. There are so many companies that don't know the weakness, the strengths of their competitor, because they don't analyze their data. If they do, they will have gotten those information. Data-driven insights. So they will be driven by data. Their decision will be made based on what their data says, not making decision based on emotion or what they feel that they should do. Then strategic planning. When data is analyzed, you'll be able to work to plan strategically. You will not just be planning anyhow. For example, if you want to plan for marketing, your data will tell you which area, which zone, which location you should focus on, instead of you just going to. Just for example, now you are into training, you are into tech training, you are now advertising in the Coca that is more populated with all this business, all these petty, they will not be able to buy it. But if you advertise in places like Anwan Road, Obanamo Road, the rent, the cost of rent is there, will tell you the level of people that are there and their mindsets. So it is when you do your analysis that you know your marketing strategy. So that is why we have analysis even in digital marketing, serious one. We analyze where our audience are. So we don't just run ads. If you want to run Facebook ad now, you must analyze where your potential customers are so that you specify the location, like Lagos. Most time when I'm running training ad, I put Lagos and Port Harcourt. Because if I put Asaba, majority of them, when they finish learning, the jobs are not here in Asaba, except they want to work remotely. Because no industries. When you go to other places, you will see, like Lagos now is a commercial place. There are companies that are looking for them. So if you run any ad in that kind of area, you will notice that people, individuals living there, will want to enroll for the training because they must have seen opportunities around them. But here, people can be reluctant in learning skill. And any average person that is learning skill in an undeveloped environment is actually learning with the mindset of working remotely or moving into those developed environments. So that is what data analytics help us to achieve. So let's look at the difference between data analytics and data science. It is good, even though you are not doing data science. Sometimes in interview, they can throw this question because whether you like it or not, data analytics and data science, they are in the same field of working with data, but are solving different problems with different techniques. Most of the problem that a data scientist will solve, a data analyst can also solve it. It's just that a data analyst will apply different techniques based on the tools that he or she learns, while a data scientist will solve that same problem based on the tools he or she learned. It's just that the data scientist will be deploying more of machine algorithm, while a data analyst will be deploying more of the applications. So they all work with data. So data analysts and data science are related, but distinct fields with different focus, methodologies, and goals. Because sometimes all these terms intimidate us a lot out there. You see somebody telling you that data science is the only way. I can solve the problem of data science if I understand how to solve it with my data analysis tools. Because even the machine learning that they are clamoring that is more precise, is garbage in, garbage out. If the data is not well clean and you pass it into a predictive analytics model, it will give you wrong results. So if I take care of my data and I deploy my data analysis techniques and I'm able to get exact result, that is what it is. Let me see if I can just run through it, because I want us to just start with a set tomorrow. So data analytics and data science. So this is where I compare both of them. So that in case you go for an interview and somebody is trying to try you or probably test you to know what you really understand, because they are in the same field. So data analytics focus on examining and interpreting existing data to extract insight and meaning. Now let's look at data science. Encompasses a broader range of activities, including data analysis, machine learning, and scientific inquiry. You see it now? So what we are saying is that it's a journey. Both of them deals with what? Data. But one goes further than the other. one exploit more complicated tools in solving his problem over the other. So the person going for data science will actually use more of Python library and R programming packages than you that is using it for just analysis. But most business decisions, most average business decisions fall within the terrain of a data analyst. It is only some businesses that understand the importance of building models that can perform predictive analysis that want to go for a data scientist. Because data scientists, they are good at building model that will be analyzing system for them. Not, but a data analyst will be the one to be deploying techniques and be performing all the analysis, exploring functions. So the workload is more on your side. Just that the learning process is more on the data science, but when you eventually break through, your work is less because you must have built a model, and then the model is the one analyzing data. Why in the case of data and analyst, then you don't have a model. So you are the one each time you are analyzing. So let's look at the second differences. Data analytics aim to answer specific business questions or solve operational problems. Let's look at data science. Aims to discover new knowledge, you see it now, patterns and relationship in complex data. So you can see they are working with data, but what they are looking for is different. Let's look at the third differences. Typically, data analytics typically uses statistical and machine learning techniques to analyze data. Machine learning combine data analysis, computer science, and domain expertise to extract insight. The fourth one is emphasizes data visualization and communication of findings. You see it now. Why here emphasize experimentation, hypothesis testing, and model development. So they build model that can answer analysis question. Now the last one is often used for descriptive and diagnostic analysis. For machine learning, often used for predictive and what? Prescriptive analysis. So you can see it. So do we have any questions? So we have some key differences. We'll talk about the scope. I think I've touched the major things that we need to know. I think I have just 16 slides. So this one talk about an average data scientist salary. So you can also search that online on your own. If you want to know what you are expected to earn as a remote worker, as a data analyst or a data scientist. So on this note, I will end here, and then tomorrow, by the grace of God, we shall be diving into Excel, how to use that tool to analyze data. Do we have any question, please?
None from here.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sorry, just a minor question. What is just major difference between sorry, let me go back to
Is it this slide?
no,
Major difference between what? Can you mention it so that we know?
just this the and data analytics.
And what?
That is data science and data analytics.
Yeah, that is what I've explained with this slide now. The major difference is
Okay.
that they both work with data, but solve their problem with different techniques. Simple as that.
Okay.
Now, data analytics does not predict, or let's put it this way, data analytics predicts, but using human concepts. But data
Okay.
science predicts using machine learning algorithm. That is simple way.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Any other question?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, there's no question, then we'll stop here. I intend to start earlier tomorrow by 8. But I would like us to be starting by 8 so that we'll not be closing late. Is it okay by us?
It's okay.
Let's bring the time down to 8 instead of 8:30 so that we can close on time.
Okay.
Miss Mercy and Franca, please, do we accept that?
Yeah.
So,
Yes, sir. It's okay.
okay. All right. So, all right. So tomorrow, please, let's endeavor to join on time. Please, we are keeping to time.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night.
Nice.
Good
Yeah.
night.
Good night.
All
Good
right.
night,
So I'll
sir.
make the video available
Good night.
tomorrow morning.
Okay, sir.
In the
Okay,
fridge.
sir.
Yeah.
What happened? Oh God.